put the death penalty on the table and then told me that if I didn't take the deal for the man who won, that they were going to pursue the death penalty.
Welcome to this episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got JROKK.
And that's what happened. And it was a really sad kind of state of affair when it happened, in the whole thing, because, you know, my son at the time was just born. I had been doing pretty good out there. You know, me and my son's mom split up. You know, I went back out, started hanging out with my homeboys, started getting high again, you know what I mean? And then I started going crazy and running around and being crazy guy again. And then this happened. And so going in at the time when this happened, it was, you know, I felt terrible because I told myself that I wasn't going to be the type of father that my father was to my son. And I totally felt like I had failed my son. So it was, you know, I kind of was in a real bad mental spot at the time when I went in.
Did you know this guy?
I did. I didn't know him. I knew him through a friend. There was definitely some stuff going on. There was drugs involved in the situation. Me being who I was as a person and what I was doing out there, sometimes people come in and you can't allow people, when you're in that lifestyle, to just go and disrespect you and punk you out and have these things happen. You know what I mean? Because what I was doing out there, collecting money for people and doing things like that, if you don't have the reputation that you're a person that's really going to handle yourself, you know what I'm saying, then you're not going to be able to do these things. So that's really where it was at the time. You know, that's where I was out mentally at that time. So, and that's what happened.
Were you sleeping when he tried to come in the house?
No, he came in the house. I'd already given this dude some stuff. I was getting a car from him, actually. This dude was trying, basically, I found out through the grapevine that this dude was trying to sell me like a chopped car, stolen car, you know, and was trying to play it off on me. The stuff that I had given him to make the initial payment on this was something that I had got from one of my homeboys. The last thing that I could ever do is come back empty-handed, you know, to one of my boys, because inside these things, it doesn't matter who you are, you're still held accountable when it comes to being inside these types of situations and these gangs and stuff, you know. So when you're out there and you're doing it, I mean, there are consequences if you mess up for anybody, even for somebody where I was, the position that I was in, you know. So it doesn't matter. So then that's what happened.
He thought he was going to rob you, basically.
Oh, he was trying to rob me for sure. No question. Absolutely. The thing about it is that it shouldn't have happened. It was an accident, to be honest with you. You know, the whole thing, when it got to the point where, you know, I pulled the gun on him and was like, hey, you know, you're not going to get out of here unless I get all my money back. You know what I mean? And, you know, I'm going to have to make an example out of you. The dude just bucked the system. And so I was losing control of the situation. I handed the gun off. I was just going to fight the guy. And the girl that I handed it off to at the time, when he rushed us, she got scared and she shot. And so that's what happened. And it was, you know, a sad situation. She just got scared. And now here we are. What do we do? And that's really what it was right there. So
what's it like to get charged and facing that much time? You don't know, it could be the rest of your life in prison, right?
Yep. So when they arrested me, they charged me just like every state does, in the things that they do here in every state, which is part of what's so messed up about our system is when they come in, they take everybody in, they overly charge them to make people get scared. Then they come at you with a deal. And then if you don't take the deal, what they're going to do is they're going to fight dirty, and they're going to make it to where the people who don't take deals just get broke off. So that way people in the future that look at this and go, oh man, Bob there could have got, 15 years if he took the deal. He didn't take the deal. Now he's doing the death penalty. That's how they do it. That is exactly how the system works. They overcharge, then they're going to make you come at you with a deal, and then if you don't take the deal, they're going to make an example out of you and make it you wish that you took the deal. So that's exactly the situation that I was in when they charged me. They charged me with 4 counts of aggravated murder for this one case, and then came at me, put the death penalty on the table, and then told me that if I didn't take the deal for the man who won, that they were going to pursue the death penalty and I was going to go to death row. And so, I mean, when you're in this situation and you've seen people before you go, whether or not you're the person or not, what's going on, you're going to take the deal because at least you have a date. And that's exactly what happened. So, it's scary.
How old are you when you're facing all this time?
I was, I think, 32, maybe 32, I think, when this happened, 2008. So, I'm 49 now. It was 2008. And I spent 16 years straight on this manslaughter. No good time. I did 16 years straight on it, and I was released May 31st. So,
when you're first starting your time, you're thinking your life's over, right?
I mean, when you come in, the person who I was still gang related at the time. I was coming in with heavy time. I had a chip on my shoulder, and so when my mentality coming into the prison was that I was just going to continue to be the person that I was at the time, and, I went in there and I was tearing the prison up real good. I had the keys for my car. So, I had a little bit of power amongst my people. And, it was, these ideologies that we get in our head, these core beliefs, values, it's really hard to get away from that stuff and figure out how to get away from it because you just don't know how to, because you just think that these things that you're doing are the way that you're supposed to act, because this is what you've told yourself your whole life. And the things that the adults and the stuff that have been around you have also been telling you your whole life. And so it really, to break that was, that part was really difficult. It took a lot. So, but yeah, when I went in, it was, I was just, trying to hold court.
For the people that don't know, what does it mean to have the keys to the car?
Basically, when you have the keys to the car, man, it just means that whatever clique that you're involved with, it means that you're the one that's calling the shots for that, and and not only that, but you're the one basically that's got to deal with the other cars, the other cliques that are inside the prison. There's a lot. So there are politics that are involved inside these places. And, Oregon politics in the prison are different than, Washington politics, or especially federal prison politics, but it's still politics. And, you got to have somebody that's going to be in there dealing with these things, because, if not, it's not uncommon for 200-man riots to pop off on the yard, so that's the type of stuff that you want to try to avoid for everyone, So,
yeah. What type of stuff have you dealt with being the key holder?
I mean, obviously, all the stuff that gets involved with these things. The thing about me that was different than a lot of people when it came to things was that if I'm not going to ask people to do things for me, right? If I feel like something needs to be done, if I felt like somebody was being disrespectful, or they needed to get smashed out, or something like that, a lot of these guys that have these, they're in these positions inside these places, they're gonna send people. I wasn't like that. I wasn't that guy. If I felt like something needed to be done, I was the one right there on the front line going, and that's how it was. So, I had to deal with a lot of different things in there. Politics inside there, it's different, man. You know what I mean? It's different. So that's the kind of things that I was.
like people on drugs, when you have to deal with your people that were using drugs. And
Absolutely. So if one of your homeboys goes through there and he's a junkie, which happens all the time, right? And that's the problem with these gangs in here. You'll see it all the time. People come in, they join the gang, they'll go and they'll be part of that, and which makes them feel like they got some power now, right? Because you get a little bit of strength in numbers. So then they'll go and you'll see one of these guys and maybe they'll go run up a drug debt with another clique or something. Now you have to deal with this, right? So now it's on you to either deal with this guy or let these other people deal with it, right? And if you let the other people deal with it and you don't deal with it yourself, there's going to be hard feelings there. So now it can make it to where you're not handling things and you've put your car into a predicament because you're not handling things that need to be handled. So, stuff like that does happen inside all the time, man. It's a real thing. So,
have you had to deal with someone in a different clique?
Oh, absolutely. Of course. Coming in, I had some stuff go down a couple different times where I felt like another car was being pretty disrespectful. Their guy called some kind of weird, mandatory yard thing. I'd never even heard what a mandatory yard was when I came here because, people don't talk like that in some of these other systems. And so I went out there and heard what this guy was saying. And it was just so mind-boggling me that this guy basically was trying to start like a riot with all the gangs inside there over somebody disrespecting his family. But the dude who he was talking about was in his own unit. And I was like, bro, if this dude is in your unit, why are you trying to get all these other people involved and you don't just handle your business yourself? And he kind of popped off. So I sparked him out right there on the yard and got away with it and walked off. And his homeboys didn't like that. So the next day, in the chow hall, one of his homeboys decided that they were going to try to sucker punch me from behind. He hit me from behind and I beat that dude from my table clear to the milk machine, got sprayed with 2 cans of spray. And then, one of the officers there, I didn't know he was coming because I'd already been sprayed in the face. He came, big guy, probably 400-pound guy. He came and spiked me off of this dude. And man, I'll tell you right now that was way worse than that spray ever could be. I'll take that spray anytime over getting spiked by a 400-pound man running at you full blown. It took me out pretty good.
Right out of you, right?
It took me out, man. I couldn't move. They're like, you got to stand up. I'm like, I can't. I can't stand up, but I made my point with the guy, those guys afterward. And so, stuff like that happens.
They take you out and bring you to segregation, right?
Yep. Go to seg. Spent a lot of time in seg. IMU. I did all those things when I was in. So, yeah, those are difficult times, things that happen sometimes, inside these places. And it's not, anything. Sometimes you just can't avoid it, especially when you're in that mentality, right? That was my mentality, that I wasn't going to allow anybody to disrespect me or mine. And I just didn't care. So if that's what it was going to be, that's what it was going to be, So, yeah, it was a difficult beginning. That's for sure. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're there for so long. Do you see over time that it starts to change with the quality of people that are coming in and the level of disrespect?